Hi there, PR3s, and welcome to this quick revision class on understanding and being able to put a really brilliant FA1 presentation and campaign together. So first up, I want to share with you the brief and what it looks like. And so you've always got to make sure that you have a very detailed understanding of the brief and what you're being asked for. So if we look here, you'll see that obviously you've got quite a bit of time still until the 26th of March and the 1st of April is when you can submit the first part of the brief. But obviously you're going to have to chat with your lecturer on campus and confirm the date that you're doing your actual presentation, your 12-minute presentation in class to your classmates. So let's just have a look at the brief. First up, there's an article that you need to read and understand about gender-based violence in South Africa, and obviously gender-based violence as a widespread problem within the South African context. And the fact that the Department of Higher Education has established a policy framework for gender-based violence in our school, post-school education and training system. And basically what that means is that this framework is a guide for higher education institutions to put a policy or a framework together to tackle and to educate and to help students on campus to deal with gender-based violence and any of the issues that there might be within a campus environment, or even if it's just to help and guide those that feel that they are, or those that are victims of it, or are trying to protect themselves, to prevent themselves from being a victim of gender-based violence. So as part of the Boston Media House's proposed policy on gender-based violence, you as the public relations representative, so you are representing Boston Media House, you have been asked to ensure that the voice of the student is included. And this will require that you, as a symbolic intermediary, needs to devise an emergent public relations strategy on the issue of gender-based violence, focusing heavily on the student's voice. So the student's voice in your situation is all the students on your campus. So you have to come up with a campaign that takes the student voice into account. So it's quite a big assignment with quite a few elements in it. It involves, you have to really understand what your campaign is going to be, your personal campaign. You've got to really understand what it is you want to achieve and do before you can start working on the actual physical, putting the documentation together. So let's look at question 1. And this is quite easy because you've done PRESA 7-step plans a lot. It is an integral part of everything that we do in public relations. So the theoretical component of what is required in a 7-step plan should be quite simple and easy for you to understand. Question 1, out of 100 marks, you are required to devise a public relations campaign for Boston Media House based on the framework of the 7-step plan, focused on the issue of gender-based violence and how to include the student voice. And remember, the main focus of the campaign is gender-based violence. And this is very important, how to hear and how to help students, all right? The campaign must include, and we all know that a 7-step plan, we define the situation, set out the objectives, who are your stakeholders, message, activities, budgeting, and evaluation. So that's out of 70 marks. And then the technical aspects in terms of grammar, spelling, referencing, and appearance. So again, you are presenting this 7-step plan to Boston Media House, and therefore they are your client. So it's a very professional document, and it's showcasing you as a public relations practitioner and a professional, and how you are able to come up with a creative campaign that again hears and helps the students with regards to gender-based violence. So that's first 100 marks. And then for 50 marks, you have to choose one of the following activities as part of your campaign. So this is the activity that you include is one of the tools and one of the activities of your 7-step plan. So in your 7-step plan, you obviously have to mention it and discuss it and talk about how you're going to use it. But there are, you just need to choose one of these, but one of these obviously will take a lot of time and is then an integral part of your overall campaign. So you can either do a 15-minute podcast with the issue of gender-based violence is discussed on Boston Media House's radio station. Your podcast guests could be a student host, a representative from an NGO. The podcast then has to be uploaded onto SoundCloud or onto YouTube, and you include the link in your 7-step plan as part of, you discuss it and then you include the link to it. Obviously, it has to suit and fit in with the look and feel of your campaign. And again, when you are focusing on the student's voice, remember it would be very important in this podcast, if you choose to do this, to really listen to what students are thinking and what they are saying in this issue. The other option is you can design 5 posters that would be placed around your campus to raise awareness on gender-based violence. These posters could either focus on NGO organizations that students can contact and seek assistance, or create awareness of gender-based violence and the importance of supporting someone who's a victim, the importance for standing up against it, the importance of what your key issues or your key message is of your campaign. And again, this must be complementary to the overall messages, themes, and ideas, colors, graphics that your entire campaign is embodying. And you obviously then have to upload your posters when you submit your assignment. And you can do it on Canva, you can design them on PowerPoint, save it as a PDF. That's all up to you. But you must consider that if these 5 posters were blown up big and put onto campus, how would they look? How would they attract students' attention? And what would they look like and represent your overall campaign and messaging? The other option that you have is to record 5 videos to raise awareness. These videos cannot exceed more than 1 minute in length. And these videos can be posted on the Boston Media House social pages. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the videos could also focus on an NGO where students can seek assistance or create awareness, again, for the issue of gender-based violence. And these obviously need to be uploaded onto YouTube, and there needs to be a link, and the link needs to be set as a public setting so that your lecturer can go in and watch the videos and mark them. So that's the basic second part of your assignment. Is you have to decide what activity you're going to do. There will be other activities that are going to be in your campaign, but these are visual representations of actual activities that you're going to be doing. That's question 2. Then we move on to question 3. And this is obviously, there's no escaping a media release when we come to PR. So for question 3, for 50 marks, write a 450-word press release as part of your activity. So obviously your press release is going to be sent out to the regional media or the community media around your campus to raise awareness for the fact that Boston Media House is launching this campaign and that Boston Media House is looking after their students, ensuring that campus is a safe place, and helping students inform themselves and educate themselves on what they can do if they are faced with perhaps gender-based violence at home, in a relationship, that kind of thing. So this press release is basically going to have details, and you're going to look at it and go, well, if a journalist were to get this press release and they were to publish it, what photograph would go with it? And it would basically be, it would serve as a launch to the media of this actual initiative that you as a PR practitioner have put together for Boston Media House. And then the last part of this assignment is that you have to present a 12-minute summary of your campaign to a representative of Boston Media House in your last class, all right, on campus. So during submission week, your lecturer will set up a time and a venue and advise you of this time and venue when you have to physically stand up in front of your class and present for 12 minutes the highlights of your campaign and a summary of your campaign. And then at the end of your 12-minute presentation, you have to allow for 3 minutes where you can have a question and answer session that your lecturer and any other guests that your lecturer invites to the presentations could ask you questions about your campaign, how you're hoping it will work, your messaging, all of that kind of thing. And then obviously when you're doing this presentation, you're probably going to have a PowerPoint that's going to highlight key issues, that's going to showcase your poster, let you listen in for a few minutes on some highlights of the podcast, or show 1 or 2 of your videos, and then that visual aid to your presentation. So whether it's a Prezi or a PowerPoint presentation, you're also going to upload that onto Cole Campus so that when your lecturer marks your overall campaign and all the elements of it, we can mark it as an entire presentation and really give you a mark on the overall understanding and the overall ability in this assignment. Then obviously you're going to have quite a detailed reference list, and within your assignment brief, you will see here that we've referenced the sources that we used to present the idea of the gender-based violence campaign. So very important that you read that and then reference those articles as well. So that's the official brief, all right? That's the official document that you constantly need to refer back to make sure that you are on track and that you are delivering exactly what has been asked for by the client. Remembering that the client is Boston Media House, you are the PR professional, you are representing Boston Media House, and you are pitching to your client this campaign that you have come up with. So it is very important that before you even consider any ideas and any campaigns, you go back to the brief and you read the scope, you read all the background information to gender-based violence and the reason for this campaign and the reason why we are asking you to do this campaign. One of the key things is that women's equality and empowerment are one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals outlined by the United Nations, right? So it's important that you do research on these sustainable and developmental goals of the United Nations to understand the global context of this issue. And then once you understand the global nature of it, you're able to put it into a South African context and understand the South African issues and the South African needs within society. Right, let's share with you now the PowerPoint presentation that we have put on Cole Campus for you, which talks about understanding the brief and breaking it down so that you have a detailed understanding of what is required of you with each of the sections. So if we look at the situation, all right, regardless of the fact that you are putting a situational analysis together in your 7-step plan, you have to understand the situation of the assignment. So it's very important, as I just said, that you read the articles provided in the brief to get a strong understanding of the issue before you can even put a plan together. So doing your research on the UN 7 Sustainable Development Goals, obviously you need to do that to ensure you have an understanding of where the issues fit in. Then you've got to familiarize yourself with the key concepts of women's equity, equality, and empowerment. So what do those concepts mean? What is your understanding of them? And what would your target audience, the student, what would their understanding be of those concepts of women's equality and empowerment? Then you're going to need to do extensive background research on the South African Constitution and the rights of women and girls within that Constitution. Researching gender-based violence statistics in South Africa and some of the prominent court cases and rulings that are out there that judges have put down on those that have been found guilty of gender-based violence in South Africa, because that will give you a context of the overall situation in South Africa and how it's viewed by our courts as well. Then do research on who the key players are when it comes to government, civil society, active citizens, and those opinion leaders on gender-based violence in South Africa. And remember that men also play a key part in creating awareness and prevention and support of women and children who are victims of gender-based violence. So also do research on the prominent role players and voices from a male perspective. Remember, your campaign is reaching the student's voice and hearing what students have to say. And on campus, male and female students need to be represented, and male and female students need to feel like they are part of this campaign, that they are part of the solution, and that they are part of a group of people that are working together to help those that are victims, but to also raise awareness about what is right and what is wrong, and standing up for those who are perhaps victims. So what is required of you? So in essence, you and your fellow students are the target market of this campaign. You have to be the voice of the students, and it's up to you to focus on the students' voice and students' issues and students' thoughts and how they feel, and where students feel that they fit in to the conversation of gender-based violence, and obviously the prevention of it or the support of those that are victims of it. So you are speaking to yourself and your fellow students. So this is a campaign proposal that you are giving to Boston Media House for consideration. So you are pitching your ideas to them in a hope that they will choose your idea and implement your campaign to reach students on campus. So question one is the start of your overall campaign. And obviously you can't do question one on its own. Your question one has to take into consideration what you are doing for question two, your messages in your media release, and how are you going to present it all in your final presentation. So you can't work on each section of this assignment on its own in a vacuum. It's all part of an overall golden thread that goes through all four elements, with your final element being your presentation that you are pitching to the client. So you can't work on the 7-step plan without making a decision and considering what your question two is going to be, if it's going to be a podcast, if it's going to be posters, or if it's going to be videos, and how that's going to be part of your activities. So your 7-step plan obviously must include all the relevant messages and activities and ideas that you're going to be including in your overall gender-based violence campaign. So remember, obviously, the basics of a 7-step plan and all the feedback and all the learnings from second year. Go back to those assignments on Cole Campus, have a look at the feedback, see what your lecturer had to say, and make sure that you apply all of that feedback. Because remember, in third year, we're no longer checking your understanding of the theory. The theory should be there. The theory and everything that you're learning in class in second year and third year, it's implied that you are incorporating all of that into this creative assignment. Remember, this is not a theoretical assignment. This is a creative campaign where you are integrating your understanding of the theory, but you're not telling the client what things mean and what definitions are. The client knows that already. They want you to come up with a campaign. So question 2, whichever option you choose, whether it's going to be a podcast or 5 posters or 5 videos, those must be incorporated into your question 1, obviously, and how they will be used, promoted, published, and communication channels that you will use to get those messages out there. And it could be a small thing, like if you are choosing the poster campaign, when are your posters going up? How are you highlighting that students should look out for the posters? You can't just put posters up and that's your campaign. It's obviously part of a much bigger campaign. You don't just want students to arrive on campus and see posters up and go, all right, and that's their only understanding of the campaign. You've got to guide them to the website, guide them to your other tools and the other activities that will be happening. So that golden thread running through the assignment is so important. With question 3, your press release is part of the activities of your campaign, and obviously your press release is launching the campaign to media and telling media what you are doing on campus, why it's so important. You're going to include relevant quotes from a student, because again, it is representing the student's voice, but maybe a senior person of Boston Media House on the importance of this initiative and why it's so important that your campus is a place of education and of listening and of understanding and of offering help and guidance to people who need it. Remember the basics of press release writing: neutral, factual, opinion-free, third-person writing. And when you are putting this press release together, you need to consider your objectives for issuing it. Why would you want media to publicize this campaign that's happening on campus? Who are you hoping to reach, and what are the key messages that you're getting out? So because your media release is going to go out to community-based media, you've got to consider that current students might see the media release in the media, parents, prospective students, lecturers, all of those who are considering registering perhaps in second semester or next year, they are also going to read this, and this is going to make them see how Boston is being proactive and part of the discussion and hearing the student's voice and creating a safe environment. So when you are putting this press release together, you must consider your stakeholders and who's going to read it and how you're going to be reaching them and getting this very important message across. Question 4, this is the part that gets everyone a bit nervous and a bit scared, because we're all scared of presenting and we're all scared of standing up in front of a group. But obviously for you as a PR practitioner, this is probably your most exciting time and your moment to shine, because all the ideas and this whole campaign that you've put together, this is now your opportunity to stand up in front of your client and to say, this is my idea, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. So it really is an opportunity for you to showcase your key theme, your key message, your overall campaign and your 7-step plan, but not presenting your entire 7-step plan. You're not going to stand up and for several minutes list all the details of all the stakeholders. This is basically the highlights of your campaign and the highlights of your key concepts and your key message, so that Boston Media House buys into it, believes that you can do it, and they give you the job, right? They say to you, we love this idea, we want you to implement it. So the slides just form a basis for you in terms of understanding public relations, showing that you understand the brief, and then being able to develop and implement and present a campaign. But the key thing is that procrastination is the enemy. And whatever you choose for question 2 is going to take quite a bit of time. So this really is an opportunity for you to start now, as soon as you can, to get working on this campaign. Now, before you start to panic and before you look at this whole assignment and start to feel like it's overwhelming and that you don't know where to start, and you're not sure of what to do, take a deep breath, all right? Consider everything that we did in PR2. In PR2, we gave you all the theory, all the knowledge, and all the concepts and ideas that you will need as a third-year student to put this campaign together. You have 2 PR2 textbooks. Remember these, all right? These 2 textbooks are hugely important. Implementing the ideas and the knowledge that you got from the theoretical side of PR, writing for online audiences, understanding your target market, all of the things that we did in those 2 textbooks, you are now implementing. So if you need some ideas or you need a bit of inspiration, go back to those 2 PR Bibles from last year and look at what we covered, look at the assignments that we did last year, and integrate all of that work that we did from PR2 into this 3rd-year assignment. All right, so the basics, if you look at your PR2 first assignment that you did, where you had to put a list of stakeholders together, you had to put tools together, on how you were going to implement a strategy to communicate with them, and then a media list and editorial angles. That first assignment that you did in PR2 was the groundwork for your second assignment. Your second assignment in PR2 was a 7-step plan, right? So everything that you learned from that, of putting a 7-step plan and a campaign together, you can now use. Your third assignment was a social media campaign and strategy. That can be integrated into this campaign. And then lastly, you did a portfolio, and your portfolio showed your overall understanding of public relations and what we do and how we use our tools and ideas and messages. So with any campaign, you've got to consider who your target market is. Your target market is your students on campus, but on campus, you also have access to lecturers and academic staff that are also on campus and that can also perhaps help you get your message across. So you don't want to launch this campaign on campus and lecturers don't know anything about it, or admin staff don't know anything about it, because you want everyone to feel like this campus is a place that is full of information and everyone understands what is needed, what is necessary, the key messages. So consider that when you're putting your campaign together. But also consider the campaigns that we've looked at in the last couple of years. Consider some of the campaigns that have won awards, some of the ideas and concepts that are out there that you've looked at and thought, wow, that's an amazing campaign. We've shown you in the last few years past campaigns that have been run and really good ideas and thoughts on getting your message out there. So now you have to look at that and go, well, what is my campaign? All right, what is my catchphrase? What is my theme? What is my hashtag? What is my slogan? All right, what am I going to use that speaks directly to students, but that gets their attention and that becomes the concept that people are talking about? It can't just be a boring poster that says, say no to gender-based violence, phone this number, all right? You've got to consider that students are going to see your posters if you use posters. It would be wonderful if they took pictures of your posters and shared them on their social media platforms, because I'm sure they've got followers that are students, but also they might have followers of people that are considering joining Boston Media House or studying. Or it's just a great PR exercise to show, wow, look at what this campus, where this person that I'm following. So your posters might exist only on a wall on campus, but they should be the kind of poster that a person looks at and goes, wow, that's really attention grabbing. Those details on that poster I need to keep. I want to take a picture, all right? So it's got to speak directly to your target market, and your target market has to go, wow, that's really got my attention. I want to know more about it. So everything that you have, whether it's your podcast, whether it's your videos, whether it's your posters, have to have, as well as your media release, some kind of call to action. Visit the Boston website for more information. And on that Boston website, you will find more information. A call to action needs to also be asking your target audience to show support, to show solidarity, to show that they are supporting anyone who is a victim of gender-based violence, or that they are there to help and guide and assist. So there needs to be a level of showing support, and again, a level of shareability, sharing your campaign, because your target markets are all in media, all right? So how can you use them to get your message out there? Also, very important that you consider where students congregate, whether virtually, so online, where do they congregate? And then on campus, where do they congregate? So if students are visiting the Boston Media House Facebook page, Instagram account, or Twitter, when they visit those areas, what will they see? What messages will they get? What artwork will they see? What slogan, theme, or hashtags will pop up? And then obviously on campus, where do they congregate? Where do you find them? Whether it's in the canteen or sitting outside, walking to campus, being in a classroom. Consider your audience is sitting in a classroom and staring at a podium where there's a lecturer. You've got a target audience right there ready to speak to. So consider your environment and where students are and how you can get involved and get students and lecturers involved to share your information. If you're going to have a podcast and that's your choice, how are you going to tell people to listen to the podcast? How will they know about it? So how will you promote the fact that there's going to be a podcast with an amazing group of people chatting about the student voice and gender-based violence, and what students think and feel about the support structures and about stories that they can share and tell? So how will people know? Also, if you've decided to shoot those 5 videos, they can be used on social media, but how else can you use them? How else can you use that content on other platforms where students might be congregating and where you'll find students? So overall, this campaign really is asking you to put all your knowledge, all your creativity, all the skill that you've gained in the last years on campus, not just in PR, but all your other subjects that you've done as well. And this campaign is asking you to show us your really great understanding of your target market and your other stakeholders, your ability to be creative within a very serious environment, a very serious concept, but your ability to creatively reach that target market in a way that is memorable, that is shareable, and that shows students that you really do understand their voice. You've heard their voice, you continue to hear their voice, you're listening to them, and that you've come up with an amazing campaign that really unites the campus, unites everyone on campus, and shows your skill set as a PR practitioner. Also, remember, when you're standing up doing that 12-minute presentation, this is your moment to shine. This is your moment to showcase your ability to communicate, your ability to get a message across, your ability to resonate with an audience and connect with an audience, and to highlight the key messages, the key themes of your campaign. So it really is something that you need to practice. Doing it in front of the mirror, record yourself presenting on Zoom and go back and watch yourself and see what you're good at, where you fumble. Really make sure that by the time you take the stage, you own this message, you believe in it 100%, and that you understand everything about it so that you can stand up and present with confidence and with competence. All right, don't forget, your lecturers are here to help. If you have questions, concerns, any issues, make sure you speak to your lecturers, get their input, get their feedback. Speak to students as well. You can't put a campaign together that is listening to students if you haven't spoken to students before you put this campaign together. Good luck. Remember, this is your first assignment. You want to start off really brilliantly, and you want to really get that 70% average up. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing all of your presentations, as your other lecturers will, and seeing your great ideas.